Hi everyone, I'm Alan Wong, Public Information Officer for the Contra Costa County Employment and Human Services Department. Welcome to a forum of candidates running for one seat to represent Area 5 on the County Board of Education. Area 5 includes Bethel Island, Clyde, Knightson, Oakley, and parts of Antioch, Bay Point, Brentwood, and Pittsburg. The Board of Education establishes policies for the programs the Office of Education administers. Included are special education, career development, and educational opportunities. Today's forum is sponsored by the Contra Costa Elections Division, Contra Costa Television, the League of Women Voters of Diablo Valley, and the League of Women Voters of West Contra Costa County. We're recording this roundtable discussion in the studios of Contra Costa Television. The candidates are Deborah Vinson, Annette Lewis, Jeff Bell, and Walter Rulig. Now, we drew lots before the show to determine the speaking order, so we'll begin with Deborah Vinson. Deborah, what would you see your top priority as being if you're elected?
My top priority would be that I would really take a look at the policies and review the policies and see where they are, the current board policies. It would be to really look at the special needs students and the resources that are available to them. I do know that many SELPAs need to be updated and reviewed within the districts within Eastern Contra Costa County. And I would also take a look at the juvenile programs. I would consider that my top priority for those students that are suspended and expelled and have to participate in the community day school. I'd want to make sure that we were meeting their needs in a culturally relevant and cultural humility manner so that they can be successful when they leave the county schools and transition back to mainstream education.
Thank you. Annette Lewis, what would your priority be if elected?
Well, I have multiple priorities. I think one of the biggest issues facing our schools right now is charter schools. They're coming in. They're not being regulated quite as well as they should be. There's nothing wrong with the concept of a charter school if they were actually doing what the law says they should. Unfortunately, there is not the true parental involvement in the charter schools, and they're not having good fiscal management in some of them. At the county board, we do have to manage some of those issues, and I'd like to see that we are closely monitoring them, ensuring that they're meeting the letter of the law if we have to have them, and making sure there's a real parental involvement within all of the schools. And that's one of the things lacking, parental, community, and business involvement. And that's always been one of my things that I really feel is important, is the involvement of those people, true parental involvement, not just working a couple hours in the classroom. Through parental involvement, parents are aware of what's going on in the schools with their children and with other children. So that is one of my key priorities.
Jeff Bell, what would your priority be?
Yes, sir. Well, first of all, I'm currently in office, so let me tell you what, not just what they would like to do in terms of policy and charter schools. Let me tell you what I would like to continue doing, and I will continue to work for. The first thing is school safety. School safety is paramount, without a doubt. We need to ensure that all of our schools and teachers are safe. The second thing, as I've always done, is special needs. That's what I work on, what we've done with special needs, to ensure that the special needs parents are well informed and well engaged, and we have additional policies to help support special needs. And the third thing I would do, as I've always done, is to ensure that the schools are financially sound. In addition to what you had mentioned regarding some of the duties, another duty that's very critical of the county board and county office of education is to ensure that the schools are financially sound. One of the things that we do is we have to approve, I mean the county office approves, the superintendent approves all the budgets of each of the districts, of each of the 19 districts, including the county office. And in addition to that, we also approve the LCAPs. So, so there are a lot of issues that individuals may or may not know. The county office has so many issues. If you have not gone through the training, proper training, like I'm currently the vice president. I'm the chairman of the budget committee. I just lectured yesterday in Ontario, California on major issues as relates to charter schools, And I think that then you're missing the mark if you don't have that type of base.
Walter Rulig?
Well, the old perennial is funding. Money makes the world go round, and certainly makes schools, lubricates the wheels. So we want to work with the districts because what goes up must come down. We've had a few good years on a roll here economically, but it isn't going to stay that way forever. So districts need to be educated about how to make cuts when needed, to marshal their funds, and to make those cuts as far from the classroom as possible, which is always what educators hold dearest to their hearts. Aside from that, certainly safety is an issue. Glad to see the county working with the Safe Schools Initiative on 5 mandates: knowing the signs, staying with safety plans, and starting with the HELLO program, which is inclusiveness.
Okay, thank you. Annette Lewis, you mentioned charter schools. Is there a place for charter schools in the county? If so, how would you improve them?
Well, if they were actually, like I said, how they're supposed to be, with true parental involvement, where parents are not just told you'll work 40 hours a week within, or 40 hours within the school period, and that counts as an engagement. That's not engagement. That's just having parents or unpaid volunteers do the work there at the school. And if it was truly a situation where there's clear, transparent fiscal responsibility being used. We have had some schools in our area that have not been fiscally transparent and are having problems now. I think it's really difficult when charter schools get brought to the local school districts to approve or not approve. If they're not approved at the local level, they come up to the county office. And then the county office is responsible for reviewing them. When the county office has rejected them, they've gone to the state and oftentimes been rubber stamped by the state, sent back to be managed. I think that the management of the charter schools, watching for their fiscal responsibility, their true parent involvement, that they're actually going to be sound in a few years, needs to be managed not at the local districts. County's going to be suffering anyway, struggling anyways financially to do it. That we need to have a system where either the state, but if the state won't do it, at least the county is responsible, not leaving this up to the local districts, who are then left struggling financially to find someone to manage
oversight
that.
is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay. Jeff Bell.
Yes, sir. You mentioned oversight. Let me tell you, in terms of charter authorization, I lectured yesterday in Ontario just on this issue. There's not a person in this county, probably in this state, that's not ranking in terms of charter authorization as I. I spoke there to all the boards of education. In addition to that, all the chief budget officers. So the charters are. Right now, the charters are a very valuable part of the educational system. In fact, we do not have a charter. You know how many charter schools there are, Ms. Lewis, in our district right now, in the county office, in the county? How many are there? No, let me tell you how many are. I'm going to tell you, there are 17 right now. Let me tell you how many charters that have failed in our district, in our county, and that the county office has managed in the last year. Or the last 4 years. You know how many? 0. And let me tell you what the facts are. Okay, in addition to that, we have approved 3 charters, okay, this year alone. Of those 3 charters, guess what? How well are they doing? They're doing exceptionally well. Let's take Clayton Valley, for example. Clayton Valley outranks any school in my county, in Contra Costa County, academically. They're the number 10 in the state in terms of academic performance. 99% of their students attend college. 99%. They have a 100% graduation rate. So you tell me these schools are doing bad? I mean, what is the problem? These guys are excelling. So charter schools have a rightful place, and school choice is the way to go.
Walter Rulig, where do you stand?
I always find it an interesting question, what you think about charter schools, and I'm never quite sure how to answer that because it really depends on what charter you're talking about. There's good, bad, and there's ugly. There's just like there are good traditional public schools, good homeschooling programs, good alternative schools, good independent studies programs, private schools, parochial schools. There's also bad ones.
So do they need more oversight?
I would say yes. I can't argue with that. I think oversight is always good, accountability, transparency. We have grown by leaps and bounds in terms of the numbers of charter schools in the state, and probably got a little bit ahead of ourselves in that regard. But I'm certainly not going to hold the charter movement responsible for that. It's the legislators who need to move on those sorts of things.
Deborah Vinson.
Can you state the question again?
Yeah, charter schools, as Ms. Lewis had mentioned, she feels needs to have more oversight. Mr. Bell feels differently. Where do you stand?
So I think it's an interesting and complex topic. I believe that for-profit charter schools, for sure, definitely need more oversight. And I think the governor put out a bill that bans for-profit charter schools. I think the public charter schools seem to go sort of hand in hand with the public education, mainstream public education. I think that all schools need more oversight, including public education. There are some public charter schools that fare very well, as Mr. Bell has mentioned, and I do know that in our area, we specifically don't have a lot of charter schools. We have two that's been there for a long time. What I will say, though, is there are students that fail in the public school system, the African American students and the Latino students, and so sometimes as a board trustee, you have to do what is right for the community, and you have to do what is right for parents. I put parents' needs first, and if you put parents' needs first, then you put students' needs first. And so I think it's a very complex issue. Do the laws need to change? Yes, they do.
Thank you. Jeff Bell,
Yes, sir.
the situation of active shooters in schools is a reality. Is this county doing enough to protect their kids?
Well, I'm glad you asked. This Thursday, I'm hosting in Antioch at Lone Tree Country Club. I'm hosting a school safety symposium consisting of experts. There are experts, and I'm the only trustee probably in this county who's been involved with the Sandy Hook project. I know Mr. Ruling mentioned some of the components of Sandy Hook. I was just at a conference in Monterey with Sandy Hook elected officials last weekend. So, and in addition to that, I lead in terms of school safety, not just talk about school safety. I work with community resource officers. I work with other trustees throughout the state to find out what best practices, San Bernardino, San Diego. So I have that option to work with various, Sacramento. I work with the president of Sacramento and such to see what are some of the best practices. So in terms of what we could do, there are a lot of things we're doing, but what the county does in terms of school safety is that we have garnished the resources. We are working with the districts now to provide some very sound policy and practices in place, not only for traditional schools, but for charter schools as well, because a lot of charter schools are Prop 39. They're actually on the property of the districts. So we're working with both. The county is providing a resource to the districts to assist them in getting prepared, because it's just a matter of time, Alan.
So
it's not when, it's not what, it's just a matter of time.
We are preparing for that.
Yes, sir, we are.
Walter Rulig, what needs to be done now that the funding is there, says Mr. Bell?
The Sandy Hook Promise program is, I think, very bold in the sense that they have a full-time coordinator and certified trainers that go out to the middle schools and high schools. So it's a good program. I think the county has moved forward in a very positive manner on this. There's been research over the last 25 years that shows that in 7 out of 10 instances in which there was gun violence in the school, a friend was told beforehand about that. So this Know the Symptoms, Know the Signs program is very good to encourage students to have dialogue with their teachers and administrators. So I think it's on the right step, but of course there's always more room for improvement.
Deborah Vinson?
So as a mental health professional, I would say that I am probably the most qualified to talk about school safety, school climate, as I provided, I'm often a prevention stopgap. So what does that mean? If a student has been identified as having a weapon on campus, I work with middle school students, then they're referred to me, and then I will talk to them and do sort of an analysis, a psychotherapeutic analysis to see how the student came to be where they are. School safety also includes reducing cyberbullying, reducing bullying on campus, helping students providing resources for students that are exposed to domestic violence in their home, and also teaching students safety around fires and other issues on campus, whether it's strangers hovering around the campus, for trafficking. School climate and school safety include a number of different parameters, and so I would say we need to do more. I know that I've been quite vigilant as a school board trustee in Antioch to work on safety. We've honed in on our drills, we've done our safe shooter training, so we've done a number of different activities. So I absolutely say we can always do more with safety. You can never do enough. And the only thing I'm going to say is that oftentimes school safety, we overlook the potential of suicides of teens and young people that are bullied. So we can definitely do more.
Annette Lewis, what more can we do to ensure the safety of our children?
Well, I do think that the Office of Education has made a good step moving forward with the Sandy Hook Promise. I look forward to going to the seminars that they're going to be having coming up. I believe it's the 24th of October. It is a good step. It is a good step with the see something, say something, so that students who do know actually help get the word before something happens. But as Deborah mentioned, it's quite often, it's beyond just the on-campus shooter that we have. We have students who come in who feel disconnected, oftentimes because of things such as bullying or problems at home. And I can have to say, and get a little emotional sometimes about it, over in our area of Oakley, we have far too many young people killing themselves over things such as not feeling safe in the schools due to either bullying, discrimination, oftentimes gender discrimination. These children feel lost, and we need to move beyond just the protecting from school shootings, but also giving them a safe place to be in their schools. I think that the county office, while moving forward with the Sandy Hook Promise, needs to be more progressive in addressing all of the issues. Many of the teachers within local school districts have addressed to me, they feel lost. Their school district isn't big enough to actually come up with a good plan to handle it, and they're looking to the Office of Education to actually provide that support.
Walter, teen suicide is a reality in many, many school districts. What can be done? What's driving that?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. Just very complex what's going on in our society, but just the stress of urban life, fast, noisy, crowded lives we live, full of distractions and latchkey kids, parents that come home late, abusive parents. So there's a compendium of reasons that I think would drive that alienation. Thankfully, we've restored counselors back to most of the districts, and not only academic counselors, but social counseling, social counselors, emotional counselors, which is needed as much on the elementary and middle school levels. So because an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Deborah Vincent,
So as a
what's
marriage and
driving it
family
and what can be done?
therapist,
Yeah.
it could be anything. There's no way to predict suicide. There really is, you just don't know. And there's a lot of peer pressure. And I think the adults are disconnected. Sometimes, we've done a lot of training in the district where I work to do youth mental health first aid. And we've trained our resource officers, our police officers have the training. And so typically what they would do is refer to a mental health professional. We have a few on campus, and then we determine whether or not further intervention is needed. But I think that we need to make the environment safe, and we need to make the environment wholesome. And what does that mean is that oftentimes school and home is the places that students spend the most time. And so I like that the County Board of Education has taken on the Sandy Hook project. I signed up for the Sandy Hook project to be a leader in this area as well, which gives me access to materials. But I think just training teachers, as I have done, and putting on more in-service trainings and providing more technical assistance to teachers so they become more aware of the signs of suicide.
Annette Lewis, what's driving teen suicide and what can be done?
As mentioned earlier by everyone here, it's a multifaceted issue. Teen suicide has risen dramatically, though, and I do feel that part of it comes down to Social media. Children are using these tools that they don't understand the repercussions of their actions. They're saying things. We have the young people over in the Pittsburg area that recently posted pictures pretending they're planning a drive-by of the school. Fake gun, but still, a lot of children were scared. This went viral before anybody could deal with it. We have to find a way to educate our youth on the proper use of social media, but we also need to have the parents involved and actually authentically involved in the lives, the processes that are going on, so that they know what to look for. The teachers can look, but when you've got 30 kids coming through per period passing through in high school, you don't get to know every one of your children well enough to necessarily notice it. Oftentimes it's the child who does not reach out to the teacher. It's the child who's been bullied. It's been the child who does not feel welcome due to oftentimes a difference. Either they're discriminated because of the color of their skin, their gender identification, or maybe even where they grew up. And this is a problem that we have.
Jeff Bell, what do you think is driving it?
It's a matter of fact. It's not a person sitting here today has seen the issue more than I. For example, I've seen over 500 cyberbullying related incidents in our interdistrict transfer hearings. We've sent over 400 students out because of safety. I've gone through tons, there's hundreds of parents I visited with. And so as a result of that, I work with not just Sandy Hook. Let me tell you who the real players are. There's a company called Gaggle. Gaggle does high-tech cyberbullying prevention even before it gets, so we've worked with tons of schools. I mean, another company called All City Management. It's called City Safety Management, Los Angeles. So I've worked with all these organizations to find out what are the best practices. What can we do? Not just we know we've identified some of the problems. Now, what are some of the real practical steps we could take? So I've taken the lead as one of the lead trustees in the county, one of the lead individuals in the entire state, to look at this and say, well, let's identify these issues and look at the resources. And now we're passing the resources down to the districts. So, but I felt that I've witnessed over 500 over the last year or two students with cyberbullying that we've had to move out of certain districts. And as a result of that, it created hardship for districts.
We're running out of time. And let me ask you, Walter, is there a need for some social media training for teens in high school or kids from kindergarten up? Are we getting that? Are the kids getting it?
I don't believe they are. Absolutely there is. There's no question about it that it's such an integral part of their life that to ignore that is just to ignore one of the building blocks of what's going to create their future.
So there's a movie called Screenagers that's been shown at middle schools all over. I've worked in middle schools all over the Bay Area for more than 10 years, been boots on the ground for mental health services. And I would say that what's happening with our youth are complicated. It's a matter of nurturing, environment, and the social media, but you can't blame it all on social media. I think that adults have to take some responsibility. Kids follow the behavior that they see, and I think adults need to model appropriate behavior.
Is this film something that students should watch?
Absolutely. It's been shown, if you Google Screenagers, it's been shown at quite a few places in West Contra Costa County School District for sure. And it just shows parents having relationship time and how much screen time kids should have. So absolutely, I think, go ahead.
Giving that a chance to...
Well, yes, the youth needs to be educated on the proper use of social media. The parents need to be educated. You can see it if you look at various platforms such as Facebook, where you see the parents are behaving just as bad as the children. We have to find a way to get the information to the parents to understand what is happening when they model that behavior in front of their child, but then also make sure their children know the proper use of. I really would love to see the day where kids step away from that screen time a little bit more and actually interact one-on-one and see the results of their behavior.
Jeff Bell, could that be a project for Contra Costa County
not only
schools?
is a project, we're working on it. Alan, a lot of conjectures, a lot of facts. Also, there's some facts that's been mentioned here, but the fact of the matter, as a leader on the Contra County Board of Education, you have to translate those particular ideas or issues into real policy, to real change. How do you change those? So I've done this. I've done it, and I'm continuing doing it. Right. So, but in addition to the one movie, Evan is another excellent movie that's actually San Diego Project puts out. So these are real resources.
Watch that. I have to cut you off there because we ran out of time, but a good discussion. We'll see what happens. Thank you to our candidates for answering all of these important questions. Each candidate will now have 1 minute to make a closing statement, and we'll begin with Walter Ruhlig.
In 1968, I heeded John F. Kennedy's call to arms to lead a life dedicated to public service, joining the Peace Corps to teach in a Turkish village without electricity. 50 years later, the idealism continues. I've taught high school English and ESL in Boston. I've been a career counselor in Pittsburg. I've served for 12 years on the Antioch School Board. I'm currently the Workability Director for the California Department of Rehabilitation program that works with adults with disabilities. I believe my diverse experience suits the role of a county trustee who would work with incarcerated youth, community day programs, career education, and special education. I'm fiscally sober. I believe in rigorous curriculum. I get along without always going along, neither bullied nor bought. I would be honored by your vote and would work tirelessly for our youth. Thank you.
Jeff Bell.
Sir, in 2014, over 14,000 voters in my district voted for me. You know why? Because they wanted change. And they wanted someone who had the leadership ability to make change. So let me tell you what I've done, not thought about doing or talked about doing. Let's talk about what I've done. Number one, I'm the budget chair. You know, the financial, one of the big responsibilities we have is the physical solvency of the districts. We have 8 districts right now who are almost on life support financially. They're in impending crisis. So that I won't mention because of some issues right now. But so my job as a trustee is to help them become physical sound, number one. And number two, always putting the student first. So, and I mean several students. Number one, the special needs. So I've had many forums around the county and around the state that I've hosted myself. And I funded and to inform and include, as Annette mentioned, have parents there of special needs. And the second thing I've done, I supported great charter schools. Contra College School of Performing Arts. I was one of the ones that helped sponsor and supported that. All the Invictus Charter School and in Richmond. So the charter school issue is very important because I want kids to have choice. School choice is important. A vote for me is a vote for continuing improvement.
Annette Lewis.
Okay, so while I have not had the chance to serve on the county school board and to claim that I have done all these things, I have spent an awful lot of time working in the schools. Over 20 years, I have been volunteering on behalf of children, advocating for the best education for all children. My children easily, I could provide for them the best education. It was their peers that I was looking out for. So my priorities on the school board are excellence in education for all students, not just set groups. Authentic parent, community, and business engagement. I want to see access to high quality, not just for small groups, but all of the students within our public school system. Increased education opportunities. One of the things the Board of Education does have is they provide many of the career technical education programs, the community college access, and I'd like to make sure we still continue using the college prep plans. I want every child to feel safe and secure in their schools, regardless of their race, creed, color, or gender. We need to make sure every child is the priority.
Thank you. Deborah Vinson.
Hi, thank you, Alan. I think I'm the best candidate because I've worked all over the Bay Area, counseling and consulting with teachers, principals, treating and working with families, mitigating mental health issues, sitting in on IEPs. I've been a California State appointed advocate. I've been a volunteer in probation. I've been sitting around the table for juvenile needs with judges and with attorneys, and I work closely with social workers as a mental health professional. I think the technical assistance that teachers need right now, they can't wait for someone to get up to speed with training. We have to be boots on the ground. I think the fiscal solvency issues, the mental health issues, the safety issues, the assistance and the low-performing public schools that we have, I think that they need someone with experience, expertise, and background. Not made-up background, but actually boots-on-the-ground background. Please vote for me on November 6th. I am the best candidate of the 4 sitting here. Thank you.
All right, and that concludes our forum of candidates running for the County Board of Education in the November 6th general election. Once again, the candidates are Deborah Vinson, Annette Lewis, Jeff Bell, and Walter Rulig. For more information on the candidates, you can visit the website votersedge.org. To view the broadcast online, go to cocovote.us. I'm Alan Wong, and don't forget to vote in the November 6th election. And remember, the deadline to register is October 22nd. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, Alan.